Ask Reddit.
If HBO's Chernobyl was a series with a new disaster every season, what event would you like to see covered? The Kyshtym disaster. Only Chernobyl and Fukushima have ranked as worse incidents, but Kyshtym affected 4x as many people. Because of the secrecy surrounding the facility, nobody was told anything about it until a week later, when soldiers suddenly showed up and started slaughtering all the livestock and burning everything, not telling all the people why they were being rounded up and evacuated. They said it was a special disease. Some other people weren't evacuated for a year or more. Triangle Shirtwaist Fire in 1911. I feel like this is being lost in time, yet it has more historical importance than other disasters listed here. TSF is the basis of modern workplace safety, union organizing and more. Wikipedia link. I would like the 1917 Canadian blast, the largest man-made explosion until nuclear bombs in 1945. Not so much for the blast but for the rebuilding and dealing with it. Was also going to say the Halifax explosion. There could be some really emotional stuff with the way Boston provided relief. The train dispatcher, Vince Coleman, who managed to warn an incoming train, 700 passengers, to stop before the city, but died from his injuries from the explosion. The politics of why the munitions ship wasn't flying the correct flags. The little girl who froze to death waiting overnight for someone to take her home. The Costa Concordia. The mixture of incredibly brave and competent people, versus the idiot captain, and the spectacular nature of the disaster itself would make for some damn incredible television. I'd love to see lots of different perspectives on it. Have you heard the radio between the captain and I believe it was the Coast Guard? The captain's a real dingus. On that note, I recommend watching the ESPN 3430 documentary on the Hillsborough Stadium disaster. Edit. I see a lot of Liverpool fans commenting on this. Those of you who read our soccer might recognize me as an Appalista, but I have nothing but sympathy for Merseyside regarding one of the darkest days in football history. Non sere me sola. You'll never walk alone. What bothered me most about this is that the blame was completely put on the people that died. They were called hooligans, despite the fact that there were a million signs that showed that poor design and poor management led to this instead. I mean, they knowingly let in more people than what was considered maximum capacity. I came here to mention this. The theme of Chernobyl was the ineptitude and pride of people. All of these natural disasters that have been suggested couldn't really have been avoided or even mitigated in the level of disaster. But like Chernobyl, the Hillsborough massacre was all about mismanagement of leadership and the ignorance on the severity of the situation by the people that got caught up in the tragedy. The most terrifying aspect of these stories is that we entrust our safety to those that we rely on to know better, but in the end, we're all the same. We are prideful and stubborn to a fault when given authority over others. Halifax Explosion. I read a book about it last year. Amazing how it created a bond between Boston and Halifax that lives on today. If I recall correctly, Halifax recently revived the tradition of sending a Christmas tree to Boston to thank them for their help. Boston without hesitation loaded trainloads of relief supplies and medical specialists within 24 hours. They didn't wait. They just ran to help. Also interesting how many people were blinded by window glass because they were watching the ship burn in the harbor when it exploded. Optometrists from all over the region flooded to Halifax to give free care to the survivors. Would love to see a show about this. The Walkerton water tragedy. Please. I lived through it. Wikipedia link. We drank contaminated water for almost a week before they told us the truth. 7 people died, including one of my family members. We were all sick, and no one knew what was happening. The water treatment plant tried to cover it up by pumping chlorine into the wells, to hide the contaminated test results. The hospital was flooded with people, and because they were told it couldn't be E. coli, they were treating the wrong illness and actually made it worse. In some cases, the hospital staff were told specifically that the water wasn't the problem, and so they advised us to drink water to help with the sickness. I wish someone would tell our story. Edit. 6 people died and over 2,000 were made seriously ill with HUS or related. Centralia, Pennsylvania. It's a ghost town because the coal that runs under the city is on fire. It has been for many years. Edit. Thank you for the precious metals. Also, if you are intrigued by Centralia, look up the Times Beach. MO disaster that also required the town to be evacuated. 55 years. And still burning. My husband's family lived there when the incident happened. The whole town was bought out and relocated to other parts of the area. We drive through when we visit my in-laws. There's still a few people there who refused to move and just accepted they would never get the money out of their houses. If you explore, you can see foundations of the old houses and sort of make out where some of roads were. It's a pretty good depiction of what would happen to our houses and roads if humanity was wiped out. The Great Fire of London. Edit. Thanks for silver, nice stranger. What about the Great Beer Flood of London?